This Old Gamer is paid for by contributions by viewers like you and by... Do you want the best in life? Do you want the comfort? Do you want it all? Do you want the best in life? The 27 is 27 floors. Really close to expensive stores. 27 is in a park nobody visits.
Nobody visits. 27
Do you want the best in life? Water, trash, electricity. The 27 is wall-to-wall carpeting.
The 27 is
Overpriced Wi-Fi. Do you want the best in life? Now leasing. The 27 condos. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Cities with John. I am This Old Gamer, and I am thrilled to have you along for the ride today, as we are all set for episode 11, and today we are going to do something I've been looking forward to, building an amusement park. This will be my first amusement park build, and the first part of this is we added
honey,
this
dinner will
Quay.
be ready in 15 minutes.
As soon as I get done recording, I'll be up.
Okay.
Alright guys, sorry about that. So about this Quay, it's going to be...
What did you just call that?
What?
Did you just say Quay?
Yeah, Quay.
It's pronounced Key.
About this key, I went ahead and finished this key all the way around. It took a long time. It's a really nice key by Avanya on the Steam Workshop. I really like it. Like, I didn't know it was called Key, okay? It's spelled Quay, Q-U-A-Y, on the game. Look under that Quay. Search for Quay and find it. Don't search for K-E-Y. Search for Quay. I knew it was called Key, obviously. So let's just get right into the good stuff. What I'm doing is, I kind of debated if I was going to tear down this road that I literally just built on the last episode, and decided to keep it and kind of build a little entrance kind of surrounding it. And we are using this beautiful Koali beach entrance that is by King Leno. And from my understanding, this was part of a Planet Coaster series at one point. I'm not sure. I don't really watch too many YouTube builds, and especially not Planet Coaster. No offense to that game. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I'd probably love it. But I don't get ideas from other YouTubers. I try not to. I do watch other YouTube builds at times, but I try not to copy other creators. Just kind of make my own thing. So I've had that in my collection for quite some time, and I wanted to use it. So I'm using it here, the Koali Beach, and that is going to set our entrance here. And what I'm doing is just basically creating an entrance surrounding this overpass. And like I said, I did debate if I wanted to actually use this overpass and kind of use it as part of this build, or if I wanted to get rid of it. So I decided just to keep it. So here I'm using Surface Painter. This is something that you can do with Surface Painter, and just kind of use it to paint a picture of what you kind of want to do. So obviously my sidewalk is not going to look like that, but it allows me to kind of get an idea of the scale of where the sidewalk is going to go. So the first thing we're going to place down is this Ferris wheel. This is the Ferris wheel that is in the actual Park Life DLC. There are some additional Ferris wheels on the workshop. There's even a few that are animated, but I really like this one, and that's the one I decided to use. I think it looks really good. One of the biggest, I want to say, challenges with this is trying to find, when you're creating an amusement park, there's not too much as far as the workshop goes. Although that carousel was on the workshop, there's just really not all that much workshop stuff. So anyway, I decided just to use the regular park paths. At first, I did install the invisible sidewalks and was thinking about doing that method, but I really do like these amusement park sidewalks. I think they look really good, and they have like benches and trash cans and lights and everything kind of just built into them, so it saves me a little time on having to mess with all that as far as adding more and more props. So yeah, I think this is the right way to go as far as that. They have a nice brick texture to them. They look very solid, and I really do like the way they look. So that's what we're going with. So here I am creating a waterfall, and if you are interested in seeing how I created this waterfall, I might make a separate video for it. I haven't really decided yet. Usually I kind of do this in an opposite order. I usually make a how-to guide. This would be the week for the how-to guide, but I don't know. I don't know what I should do. I'm going to kind of hold off for right now on the how-to guide on waterfalls and just kind of give you a very quick recap of how this turned out. Lots of props, lots of rock props, and just kind of putting them in with the waterfall, and I think this turned out really awesome. Alright, so I have some assets here that are just a little bit smaller assets. One thing that I do want to do is, since I'm covering a pretty good amount of land, and as this episode transpires, you will see that the square footage of this theme park dramatically changes. My first idea was to kind of keep it down in this corner between the canal and kind of the corner of the Quay, but it kind of expands as I go for the better. But I wanted to make sure that we had enough restaurants, smaller things that are going to attract people to this park as well. So you can get a bite to eat at some more quality restaurants, not just carnival, amusement park type food. So we added a few additional restaurants, and kind of like you see in a normal theme park where, you know, you might be at a theme park and you run into like a McDonald's or KFC. I guess you would define those as quality food. But there's also a few nicer little restaurants and some little pop-up buildings here, little smaller ones, including the ones that are just like your traditional looking carnival amusement park type places to get a bite to eat, something quick and simple and easy. So I kind of installed those, and here I'm just kind of making them look like they're more or less part of that overpass, and we're going to adjust those in, get them, as you can see, that they're kind of backing right into, oh, hey, it's the bar from The Simpsons. I don't know, I don't think I'm going to use that. That bar from The Simpsons has got to go somewhere though, right? So we're also using procedure objects to make a few of these buildings a little bit smaller. Like, I really like this sugar candy store, but it is huge, and we needed to shrink it down. Keep in mind that will now make that building where it does not get used, but you can still work around that. You can even place like a fake building inside of it if you wanted to, but I'm not really concerned about it. But I think a candy store makes sense right next to the Ferris wheel there. So as I was saying, as far as this overall plan, I don't want to, since I'm taking up a lot more real estate, it can't just be rides after ride. There's not really that many rides to choose from, so I can't have just ride after ride after ride. Yes, there are additional things that you can do to kind of combat that if you'd like, but I am kind of just trying to keep this more of a variety of things and more like a traditional amusement park. So you're going to have things like your, like we have here, just like the walk-up games and you know, those games that you can never win. I don't think I've ever won. Actually, I am an expert at skee ball. I will take on anybody in the world at skee ball. You name the place, I'll be there to play skee ball. I grew up on Showbiz Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese. I'm ready for you. Like that little piggy train here. We're going to move this carousel over. And there's kind of a little lookout gazebo here right up against the edge of the beach. Now we have this fence system here. This is another Avanya asset. It's a beautiful fence system. And no! What the? Are you? What the? Okay. Just gotta breathe and just relax. Didn't have my road anarchy turned on. Oh. Fixed it. As you can tell, everything's okay. Alright. So we've got this beautiful fence here by Avanya. I really like. We put it around that waterfall. We're going to circle back and add some decals. One thing I do, I will warn you about on this episode, there's a little bit of back and forth. I kind of found things that I wanted to do differently kind of as I went and kind of make adjustments. So I try to keep it as in sync as possible, but just be warned. We're going to have a few decorations here or there, and one thing that I've kind of gone back and forth doing is adding props as I build versus going back through and doing all the props at once. So on this build, I'm going to be doing the props, trees, plants, curbs, all that kind of stuff, basically as I go. I will circle back a little bit here or there like I'm doing right now with these decals and get them put on. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys put your props on as you build, or do you just try to go back after you've got all your buildings down and add those details? It's kind of an interesting question, and there's different advantages to doing each. But, you know, advantages and disadvantages to everything, I guess. And that didn't take long. We already have a flying semi-truck. That is a heck of a flying car. Well, I was thinking, you know, I haven't done anything with water in like 5 minutes. So I decided to make a little stream, like a little river with a smaller lake kind of running through the middle of the amusement park. This kind of forced me to make the amusement park a little bigger than I initially was going to, but that's okay because I think that ultimately, you know, most amusement parks are pretty big. And, you know, I didn't intend on this one being super big. However, if you think about it, this is somewhat like an inner city amusement park, which do exist out there. But for the most part, amusement parks are in larger open areas. If you look at the big players in the world, the Disney Worlds and the Six Flags and things like that, they are in very large areas and not close to a downtown like this is. But anyway, it's positioned well right next to the ocean, in between the ocean and the main strip there. So I think it works out. So here we have a amusement park restroom, and we are flooding the restroom. Somebody must have had a big flush there. We're just kind of adding some amusement park decals. So my idea with these decals, I will say this is the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of the world, is these decals for the amusement park. I don't like putting them back to back to back and just covering everything. So I just kind of use them in this kind of way. Just plop them a little bit, but then just have the surface painter to put the dirt in between. adding just some little small games, coin stealing machines, and just kind of a little curb here at the corner. And we're going to add a little tiki bar type place. Yeah, it looks cool right there like that. Here we have a very large playground that I used right by the planetarium on the, I believe it was Beach episode 9 of the Beach series. A very large playground with all sorts of different equipment, sandboxes and tables and things of that nature. It's really a cool asset, but it also takes up a lot of space, so you've got to find a good way to work it in because it's a heck of a squeeze. Run the path right across this canal here, and if you also notice, we installed the gigantic free fall thing. We're just going to adjust that. I would never do one of those. I have done the Tower of Terror at Disney, but that one's in the dark. As funny as that sounds, I don't really realize how high I am on that one, but one of these ones is just open space, drop. Oh, I just can't imagine. That would not be good for my heart, I don't think. So here I'm just adding in, well, don't pay attention to that, okay, because it's going to go away. Those little castle walls, the castle walls there are, they're temporary, okay. So we're going to extend this path all the way down on both sides. This is ultimately going to connect on the other side of this lake. I call it a lake. I mean, it's basically like a small pond or something, I guess you would say. Move this rock out of the way. And we'll do a little terraforming and smooth that out a tad. And we're actually going to build another waterfall, I think. I'm loving these new animated waterfalls. They are just wonderful. So I'll leave a link for those in the description below, but check them out. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with them. And like I said, I might make a video at some point if another way better YouTuber doesn't. So here, this is a little sunken ground. We'll just add a little elevated part of the path just to break that up just a tad. Okay, so I made another waterfall for this lake here, and I added some rocks and stuff, and now we're going to put a floating flower bed kind of smack dab in the middle of this pond. These waterfalls, as you can tell, they're just coming right out of the mountain there. And what's kind of funny about this is I was kind of working on it. It took me quite a while to get that one to look the way I wanted to. I was kind of working on it and thinking, man, this kind of looks like fake, like the waterfall's just coming out of the rock. And then I was thinking, well, this is fake. It's an amusement park. I'm not trying to make like a nature reserve. So I was happy with how this ended up. So we just added some flower beds because those flower beds are floating. Well, they're props that I can basically place anywhere. Keep in mind that when you have trees and plants and things of that nature, they don't always cooperate. So as you can see, I used some hedges and made a Koali Beach hedge sculpture thing. Dig it. There it is to the right. I just copied and pasted it over. It's actually not as hard to make as I thought it would be, and doesn't look as good as I thought it would, but that's okay. I'm using these prop plants and things around this to just kind of add a little bit more to it. I didn't really want you to see the sides of the flower bed necessarily, so alright. Now we're to the fun part. I hope you like scary things. I hope you like Outlast 2 on BonBonB's second channel. I hope you like haunted houses because that's what we got right here. We have a very frightening haunted house except for that giant head on top. And one thing I realized about this haunted house very quickly is prop it up does not work on it, so you cannot make those vanilla trees go away. So as a fix to that, I'm just adding a bunch of trees all around the trees that are there just to kind of hide the vanilla trees, if that makes sense. And I don't really care that they look kind of scraggly because it's a haunted house, so who cares. And I'm going to put a little graveyard in here to the side. I want this to be kind of scary, kind of fun, but mostly scary. So we've got a little bit of a graveyard. And we also are going to be putting in some additional rides and stuff around this area and some neat pathways and stuff. But I started thinking like, okay, well, what would make sense on the other side of this? Like, if this was playing as a moat, what would make the most sense? And of course I was thinking, well, it'd be cool to have like a castle of some sort. And then I started thinking about, well, I've got the castle pathway over there that I briefly showed everybody. And then I started thinking, well, if I'm going to put a haunted house in the castle, doesn't exactly make the most sense. But I decided to kind of go with a little bit of both. So you'll see here in a minute what I'm talking about. The little castle walls to that pathway that goes over, that's just to hide the fact that I used just a regular path over that, which really didn't matter. I just didn't really want the guardrails up if there was actually walls there that served as guardrails. I didn't think that made sense to have guardrails at that point. So here I have this really cool statue that does kind of look like it goes along with a castle, to be honest with you, but we're just going to put it next to this haunted house. And I got a little different fence that I haven't used before. We're just going to circle around with that. And, the haunted house looks pretty cool. I mean, it's got little people popping out of it and stuff. There's a ghost that pops out of the back window on cue. But I did a little bit to it. I kind of added the road closed sign, the little stop sign on the back of it. Just some fun little things. And I'm using these stone decals to cover up my invisible pathway. And now we have these rather large trees that I think just look really, really great around the haunted house. This little miniature boat swing type thing. Does it go with the haunted house? Maybe, maybe not. But it fit well here, so I was like, we're just going to put that right here. Trying to squeeze in these rides is kind of funny because, as I talked about earlier, there's only so many rides on this part of the Park Life DLC, which, by the way, was free. It might still be free. I did not get this for free, Paradox Interactive. Give me like something else for free. I already had Park Life for free, or I paid for Park Life already, so I should get something else free. Maybe like Sunset Harbor. It's no big deal. Just put it in my Steam account. It's fine. So yeah, I'm getting way off course here. I'm putting a little bit of a hangout spot for maybe Mom to chill when she doesn't really want to go in the haunted house with the teenagers. Adding some dirt with the surface painter. Using a lot of older looking props and like the trees that are just kind of raggedy looking and things like that to fill this up. Adding additional gravestones and things like that. And like these purple trees. Those are actually vanilla trees, but I think they just really look good here. I really like the way they look. So, I think I'm going to put some little wrecked cars here in the corner. Yeah, we'll put those right over here. We'll add a little moss around them. I know it's kind of random, but those look a little abandoned. I was just trying to think of things that would kind of go around a haunted house. I added some additional fog to the haunted house as well, so that's not part of the actual vanilla asset of this. Yeah, there's just a lot of fog coming out of there. It's like Cheech and Chong are visiting at the moment. We're putting in some additional lights here. Check out this little Tower of London Torture Center gate thing. We're gonna put that right there. And we have some gravel curbs. I'm just gonna kind of fix up this entrance a tad to the haunted house. Here I go, going back and forth. I said I would add most stuff as I went, but obviously I'm not sticking to that at all times. Using the royal palms, I'm saving some palm trees for... I've got some palm trees I'm saving for additional parts of the map. What I thought is once this downtown series is over with, and who knows how long that's going to be, the next area I work on, the palms are going to be maybe something completely different. I'm not sure, but the royal palms work out really good for this park, I think. So here we're going to put in a little cafe outdoor patio type place. I have this Coca-Cola big advertisement sign. That's something you see a lot in amusement parks too, is big like advertisements and things, and like usually like one gate is sponsored by like the local dentist, and one gate's sponsored by Pepsi, or the whole park's sponsored by Pepsi, or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, we have this wrecked ship. We're using procedure objects to just kind of shrink that down, put it in the corner, and then we're going to start on this edge over here. So one thing you might question is this Quay, this key that goes along the wall. The idea is if you are not in the park and you're walking along, because it's 2 levels, so there's a level below that also has a fence that can be walked along, but there is going to be some security barriers installed. So if you're walking along that key, you'll have to go up a staircase before you get to the perimeter of the amusement park. And if you are in the amusement park, you can't go outside of the amusement park if you're on the key, okay, if that makes sense. So that's what that's all about, because I was kind of thinking when I made that, I was like, wow, that might look kind of funny as like, oh, I can sneak in the amusement park, and I'm trying to prevent that. And same thing over with the road next to the other side by the residential area. I have a wall over there. So I was thinking like, well, would an iron fence make sense? Well, I don't really want people like peeking in from the outside. I want you to be, when you're in the amusement park, I want it to be like you're lost in the amusement park. You know, it's its whole another world for you. So I don't want it to be something where you can see the real world outside, and the people that are outside, I don't want them to be watching people inside. I want them to be curious of how much fun they're missing and how much money they can spend and all those good things. I set the ticket prices to the maximum ticket price to get into this park. So I think it's $20 to get in, which is the maximum on the game. And I did hook up those. I had to use the gates that are like the vanilla gates, although I am using Steam Workshop assets as my gates. I had to actually put a gate for it to actually count people as entering the park, or the park will never like level up, which ultimately, the way I'm playing, doesn't matter. But it's just that vanilla player that lives in me from playing the first 300, 400 hours that I've played of this game was all strictly vanilla, with the exception of maybe Move It. I don't think I had any mods the entire time. I don't even think I had to Move It for a while. So the vanilla in me sometimes still wants to have things level up and have all those little things, and then I always kind of think to myself, John, this doesn't really matter anymore. So, oh, it's the Essential Lighthouse. Am I allowed to call that? Is that copyrighted? So we're going to shrink this down using procedure objects and put that right there in the corner. Oh, that looks so cool. I love it. I love it. Now we have some little outdoor cafes. We actually used these over on episode 5, I believe it was, of this downtown series, next to that high-end commercial district. I think they work really well here, obviously. And off camera, I built a little park maintenance center over there with the garages and stuff. Didn't find that to be all that entertaining, and I was trying to cut back a little bit on the time. This is a long episode as it is. So that wall is the wall I was talking about earlier. Maybe prevent people from looking into the park. Of course, once they walk up on the overpass, they're going to have a great view of the park, but so be it, whatever. But just adding in a few little kiosk restaurants and things like that, snack bars and places to just fill up these gaps next to the walkways there. All right, so I'm going to kind of adjust this. I didn't really like the way this turned out. And plus we have this little low lining area where I've got the pathway elevated that I kind of want to do something a little bit different with. We'll add some additional decals here. Just trying to make lots of places that people can hang out. Lots of places to sit and rest. Not that it's that big of a park, but just having those wide open spaces and just making sure that there's something there for people to do. So nice, these little rainbow umbrellas look really nice. Go perfectly along with this amusement park. Let's add in some juniper trees. These little tiki huts are just going to serve as kind of like a decoration. I mean, they are probably functional, and I guess people could live in them. But I'm just putting them there as kind of like a add to that beach feeling of the park. Add some additional palm trees. Okay, so let's just talk roller coasters for a second. I love roller coasters. And my wife came in and was watching me do this and said, "You're not going to put a roller coaster in this park?" And I said, "Well, I don't really want to, because I'm trying to keep this park small. Like, I don't really want to have a roller coaster in it." And she was like, "Oh." And, I plopped one down, and it was probably about halfway through this build, and it didn't really fit where I put it. I actually had it over in the corner by the park cafe, kind of closer to the what's soon to be the other entrance. But here's where I decided to put it, and I love the way that looks over the water. And you'll see some more of that in the cinematics here in a moment. So here is the other entrance I was just speaking of. I'm using these workshop assets that are just kind of like turnstiles, and we're going to kind of dress them up just a tad. And we're going to add the Koali Beach sign right here to the middle. And then some curbs over here. This will kind of serve as a just kind of a grand entrance. This is not the main entrance. The main entrance would be the one that I built originally on the other side in the beginning of the episode. This is kind of your alternate entrance, but we're only going to keep it to 2 entrances. So that says main gate, but we don't want that to say main gate. We want that to say, let's just make that one say gate 1. So that'll be gate 1. And then we'll make the other one. We'll just copy and paste using our procedure objects here. We'll put that there. And yeah, I think that could be gate 2. There we go. That looks good. I like that. I like that a lot. So this is the Pop Soda entrance. And this one's the Big Bite Burger. Yeah, I like that. Cool. I think we're about done. Well, that about does it for episode 11 of this downtown series. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed building it. If you feel compelled, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content and mispronunciations of different words from the game and in regular life for that matter. I'm going to leave you with some cinematics for today, and we're open for business here at Koali Beach. Come and see us in about a month and a half. I'm This Old Gamer. Bye-bye. All right, I'll be, as soon as I get done recording, I'll be up. Okay, ready? Yeah. As soon as I get done recording, I'll be up.
Okay.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. So about this Quay, it's going to be.
What did you just call it?
What?